She was only 17 when the knife tore into her side. In the middle of a dusty diner parking lot, Hannah Collins collapsed into the cold pavement as her best friend screamed for help. Blood pooled, sirens flashed, and time itself seemed to stop. Doctors would later say she died that night, her heart silent for 11 long minutes. But Hannah insists death wasn't the end, because what she saw on the other side wasn't just heaven, it was a terrifying vision of America's future, and Jesus himself was the one who showed it to her.
My name is Hannah Collins. I'm 17 years old. I live in a small town just outside of Dallas, Texas. I'm a high school senior, working part-time at the grocery store, and I had my whole life planned out. I wanted to study veterinary science at Texas A&M, rescue every stray dog I could, and live a simple, happy life.
17 years old, Hannah. That's such a tender age. You had so many dreams ahead of you. Did life feel normal back then, like any other teenager's life?
It did. My biggest worries were SAT scores and curfew arguments with my mom. I imagined the future that was safe, steady, ordinary. I never thought anything could shatter it.
And yet, something did. Something none of us would ever expect. Hannah, before everything changed, what was the last moment you remember of that ordinary life?
Laughing with my best friend Maya in a greasy old diner in New Mexico. I sent my dad a text that said, "Almost there, love you." I didn't know it would be the last thing I'd ever write to him. And as I look back now, I can tell you this. Death wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning.
It was the second day of our trip. Maya and I had been driving nearly 10 hours across the desert. The road stretched endlessly, black and empty under the stars, when we spotted a glowing neon sign for a small diner called the Cactus Grill. We pulled in, desperate for food and rest. The place was old, greasy, and forgotten by time, but open. We laughed through a terrible meal, happy just to be free on our adventure. I even texted my dad, "Almost there, love you." I never imagined those would be my final words to him. When we walked outside, the parking lot was nearly empty, lit by a single buzzing fluorescent light. That's when he appeared, from behind a pickup truck. His eyes were wide, his words frantic, mumbling about voices. My body froze with fear. Maya whispered, "Just give him your purse." But he didn't want money. In a blink, he was on me. A sharp burn tore into my side. I looked down and saw blood spreading fast. Maya screamed. Police lights suddenly flashed and the man turned with a gun. Shots rang out. He fell. I tried to stand, but my legs gave out. The pavement was cold against my skin. And then everything stopped. The world froze around me. Maya's scream hung in the air like a photograph. The police officer's arm, gun still raised, was locked in place. Even my killer, mid-fall, was suspended like a grotesque statue. The pain in my side vanished. Fear disappeared. I was just aware, so strangely aware. And then I felt it. A lift. Gentle but undeniable, like a balloon slipping free from a child's hand. My body stayed crumpled on the pavement, but I was rising. Higher. Lighter. Above the diner. Above the flashing lights that no longer moved. I could see everything. The greasy booths inside still holding half-eaten burgers. The silent desert stretching forever. The stars brighter than I had ever noticed. It all looked so small, so fragile. And then came the pull behind me, above me, firm yet soft, like invisible hands guiding me. The parking lot shrank into a pinpoint of light as I moved into a tunnel, swirling, radiant, alive. It wasn't dark, it wasn't frightening. It was warm, shimmering like the inside of a pearl. I felt wrapped in peace, a peace deeper than anything I had ever known. For the first time in my 17 years, I wasn't worried about tomorrow. I wasn't even worried about dying. I was already gone. The tunnel opened and suddenly I was standing in a place without walls, without floor, without ceiling. It was endless, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with light, living light, not the kind that hurts your eyes, but the kind you breathe in. It felt alive, wrapping around me like a presence, like love itself made visible. And then he was there. I didn't need an introduction. I didn't have to ask. I knew it was Jesus. He didn't look like the pictures I'd seen in church. No robe, no long brown hair. His form was brighter than the sun, but soft like music you feel in your bones. Around him was a hum, low and beautiful, and it vibrated deep inside my chest. He never opened his mouth, yet I heard him. Or maybe more than heard, I understood him. The way you understand a memory you had forgotten but always knew was true. He looked at me, and in that daze there was no judgment, no anger, no disappointment. Only love. Pure, overwhelming love. It felt like every part of me, every fear, every mistake, every secret was laid bare. But instead of shame, I felt whole. I began to cry, not from sadness, but from relief. The weight of being a human was gone. I was finally free. But then the scene shifted. Jesus didn't speak, but suddenly the light shifted and I wasn't standing in that endless brilliance. We were back in the diner, parking lot, only this time we weren't looking at me, we were looking at him, my killer. At first, I wanted to recoil. I wanted to see a monster, the man who tore my life away. But Jesus showed me something different. I saw him as a little boy hiding under his bed when his parents screamed. I felt his loneliness. I saw him being bullied in middle school, bitterness planting its seed in his heart. Then flashes came like a reel of film. Small choices, wrong turns, lies, thefts, anger. Each one made that seed grow darker, stronger, wrapping tighter around his soul. And I saw them, the whispers, dark, shadowy things clinking to him, speaking lies. You're worthless, no one loves you, they deserve to suffer.
He listened. He fed them. And over the years, their voice became louder than his own. My heart ached. Against all reason, I felt pity. Because in that moment, I understood. He hadn't just been my killer. He had been a prisoner. Then the vision shifted again. I saw him standing in the same light where I stood, but he couldn't stay. The darkness in him recoiled, screaming as if the truth itself was burning him. The light didn't condemn him. His own choices did. And Jesus wept. When the vision of my killer faded, I turned back toward Jesus. His face was full of sorrow. And then, without a word, he showed me something else. I was no longer in the desert parking lot. I was hovering over America. Homes, neighborhoods, cities. Everywhere I looked, people were staring at glowing screens, phones, televisions. Their mouths were closed, but their hearts were screaming. I could feel it, the hatred pouring out. Hatred for politicians, hatred for neighbors, hatred for strangers they had never even met. It was thick like smoke filling the air. And I saw them, the same shadowy whispers that had haunted my killer. They were everywhere now, fanning the flames, whispering lies into millions of hearts. You are right. They are wrong. Hate them. Destroy them. People thought their anger was righteous. They thought their bitterness was justified. But Jesus spoke into my soul. This is the same poison, the same seed that grew in the heart of your killer is growing in them. And if they do not turn, it will destroy them too. The weight of his words crushed me. America wasn't just divided, it was being devoured from the inside out. And I knew this was only the beginning. The vision of America's anger faded, and I was back in that endless light, standing before Jesus. His eyes still carried sorrow, but also a love so deep it broke me. I didn't want to leave him. This place was everything my soul had ever longed for. Peace, safety, home. Every part of me whispered, stay. But then he spoke, his words flowing directly into my soul. Little one, your story is not finished. It is not for you, it is for them. The thought hit me like a weight. Go back? Back to pain? To fear? To that broken world? I shook inside, pleading, please don't send me back. Let me stay here with you. His love wrapped around me like the warmest embrace, but his voice carried unshakable purpose. You must tell them. Tell them to guard their hearts. Tell them to choose forgiveness before it is too late. I wept, torn in two, longing to remain in heaven, yet knowing I had been given a mission I could not refuse. And then I felt myself falling. The embrace of heaven slipped away, and suddenly I was falling down, through crushing weight and suffocating darkness. The light was gone. The peace was ripped away. I gasped a violent, tearing gasp like a drowning person breaking the surface. My eyes shot open to blinding hospital lights. A tube was jammed down my throat. I was choking, gagging, clawing for breath. Beeping machines screamed around me. Nurses shouted. A woman in scrubs leaned over me, eyes wide with shock. She's breathing on her own. My side burned with fire. My body shook. Tears poured down my face, not just from the pain, but from grief. I had just left heaven, and I was back. Later, I learned I had been dead for 11 minutes. My heart had stopped. The doctors were about to call my time of death when, without explanation, it started beating again. They told my parents there was no medical reason I should be alive, and certainly not without brain damage, but I was. And with every breath, I knew why. I hadn't come back for me. I'd come back with the message. As I lay in that hospital bed, still trembling from what had happened, I understood why I was sent back. It wasn't for me, it was for you. Jesus had been clear. Tell them to guard their hearts. Tell them to choose forgiveness before it is too late. And I now saw what he meant. Every day we are handed chances, small, ordinary moments that carry eternal weight. A chance to forgive the friend who betrayed us. A chance to pray for the neighbor we can't stand. A chance to stop feeding the bitterness that whispers, "You're right, they are wrong, hate them, destroy them." That whisper is poison. It's the same seed of darkness that grew inside my killer until it devoured him. And Jesus showed me it's spreading, not just in one man, but in entire families, entire nations. He didn't ask me to tell you who to vote for. He didn't ask me to point you to a denomination. He asked me to tell you this: heaven is real. Hell is real. And the choices you make in your heart every single day are shaping your eternity. I came back to tell you that mercy is still being offered, but one day, the chance to take it will end. And then Jesus showed me one last vision. The room around me faded again, and I was no longer in the hospital. I was standing above a map of America. At first, it glowed with lights, cities, towns, neighborhoods. But then I saw cracks running through the land, glowing red like fire breaking through the earth. The same whispers I had seen around my killer were spreading everywhere, dark shapes pouring into homes, schools, even churches. Families were tearing apart. Neighbors were turning on each other. The hatred I had seen in one man's eyes was multiplying across millions. I looked at Jesus, desperate for answers. His gaze was steady, filled with both grief and love. And he spoke again into my soul. Evil does not begin in the act. It begins in the heart when mercy is rejected. Tell them. And then he showed me something I can hardly bear to say, something about what is coming next to this nation. It wasn't just division, it was judgment. But before I could see it fully, I was pulled back into my body with a gasp. The vision touched short, leaving only his words echoing in me. And that's what I carry now. A warning, a command, a truth that will not let me go. Because the question he left me with is the same one I leave with you. When the darkness whispers to your heart, what will you choose?